Thank you. I'd like to bring in our next guest right now. She is the spokesperson for Benjamin Netanyahu. Tal Heinrich joins us today here on Newsline. Good to see you, Tal. Welcome in.
My pleasure, Bianca.
Well, I'd like to start first with some of the new information about protesters, and they got very close to your boss's private residence. I mean, we've seen some of the pictures here. We know that this has been 4 days of protests here. Anti-Netanyahu activists. Some people are members of hostages and missing families. Tell us about the strained relationship and what has been sort of been bubbling up, and how this latest round here got so close, and what the plan is now.
You see, very few Israelis are in. So, Bianca, very few Israelis are engaged in politics right now. We are all, an overwhelming majority of Israelis are focused on one thing alone, being part of a national effort to defeat Hamas and win this war, bring back our hostages home, and make sure that Gaza will never pose a terror threat to us again. We have a unity government in place right now, which is really reflective of the public sentiment in Israel. So the pictures that you're showing of protests, this is not reflective of, most of the majority of the Israeli public right now. What you see is definitely not, it's a few out of the nearly 10 million people that we have in the country. And the reason why we're not really dealing with politics at the moment, and I'll tell you this, is because when Hamas targeted us on October 7th, they didn't ask who you voted for when they massacred and butchered and raped our people. So we're in this together.
As he faces that, and you guys obviously are pressing forward in Rafah, it seems like the relationship with Joe Biden has deteriorated and now getting worse. Where do you see it stand? And what is your opinion of Joe Biden and what many say is just his pandering for the Muslim vote in Michigan?
Well, we are grateful for the administration's support, a demonstration of global moral clarity since the beginning of this war. We have our disagreements, that's no secret, but in the big scheme of things, we want the same things. Washington and Jerusalem, we do see eye to eye on the necessity to eliminate Hamas and to bring all hostages back home. This is why we're having these constant discussions with Washington, including this week, and there will be further discussions regarding a major military operation in Rafah next week, because we all agree that Hamas must be gone.
Do you think Biden has Israel's back?
We know that Washington and President Biden do have Israel's back since October 7th. And, according to polls that we're seeing, the American people support Israel's war objectives. You don't like terrorists, we don't like terrorists. It's as simple as that.
Yeah. Well, I'd love to get your reaction to the vote in the Knesset that would shut down Al Jazeera in Israel. Prime Minister Netanyahu has vowed to shut it down. There are some in press organizations concerned about that. The Committee to Protect Journalists says it is deeply concerned by the legislation, saying it poses a threat to the international media in the country. Leaders of the National Press Club objected to any effort to shutter Al Jazeera in a statement that it released. Where do you stand on this, Tal, and what's your reaction?
Let's backtrack here just a little, because, Al Jazeera, it's not your average regular news channel, so to say. It's a mouthpiece for Hamas. It's a mouthpiece for the Muslim Brotherhood, for Iran, for Hezbollah. For that reason, by the way, Israel's not the only country across the Middle East that, temporarily shut down Al Jazeera operations within its territory. There are other countries as well, because they are, for a few reasons. First, they pose a national security threat to us, just like, for example, RT broadcasts were banned in Europe since the beginning of the Russian invasion of Ukraine, because they deem it as a security threat to Europe. So in our case, Al Jazeera, they put civilians and soldiers' lives in danger when they broadcast their lies and spread Hamas propaganda, jihadi propaganda, to be accurate. And also, the IDF has shown that since the beginning of the war, we revealed that Al Jazeera employs so-called journalists who are involved with Hamas, who are Hamas terrorists. One of them, for example, was involved in the Hamas drone array. Another Al Jazeera journalist invaded into Israel on October 7th, went inside one of the kibbutzim near Oz and documented himself praising Hamas atrocities. For these reasons, obviously, country. We have freedom of press and freedom of speech, but Al Jazeera has taken advantage of it to incite murder.
We certainly appreciate your time, and we do want to stay updated on those meetings, especially in regards to Rafah and Washington next week. Thank you so much for joining us right here today. Always great to see you, Tal.
Of course. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And stay with us. Closer to home, approaching our southern border, here they are, an army of